Welcome to Beyond the Clef, going further with your music program, presented by Director's Choice. This is a podcast for music educators by music educators. Our hope is that we can offer tips, advice, and inspiration, helping you to reach beyond.
Welcome to Beyond the Clef, going further with your music program. I'm David Beal, your host, and I'm joined by James Park, who is the choir director at Clear Creek High School. Hey, James, how are you?
Good, David. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. James, you and I have gone back a long time now, I think 8 years, when we were back at Kingwood Park High School together, right?
Right, where I introduced you to Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, back in the day. Well, we've been having some conversations lately about the end of the year, and I'm at the end of the year in my program, you're at the end of the year in your program, and you were talking about this interesting idea, and the idea that we can go ahead and have music be, again, the focus of what we're doing towards the end of the year, and not maybe degrading it on some music that is quote-unquote fun. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. And I'll preface it by saying I've done it both ways to great success, where I've ended my year with a pop show, and I've ended my year with something like a Masterworks or some sort of formal concert that does really, legitimate music. I have nothing against pop music. I think pop music is great. I love it myself. I escape in it. But one has to wonder why we, especially in the choral department, why we will go to get all the way to UIL and have the kids at the high point of the whole year in terms of their performance ability, in terms of their reading ability. Their skills have been building and building to that UIL time, and then we turn around and we do pop music with choreography. And it doesn't seem like a natural progression in the school year, especially when so many kids really enjoy doing that UIL music. They enjoy performing at a high level. They enjoy the rigor of that. They enjoy the good music, and they enjoy performing at the highest level on that good music. And so, actually, before we opened Kingwood Park there, I kind of started thinking about, I wonder if there's a different way of doing it. And at Kingwood Park, I kind of explored that, where because we opened a new school, we didn't have any traditions, and we could kind of do our own thing. And, we just had sophomores and freshmen that first year. And so kind of wanted to try something different. And I kind of wondered what would happen if we put Pop Show in the middle of the year at a different point in the year. And then ended with a Masterworks. Some curious things, or some curious reasons why I wanted to do that, some things that really excited me about that was the benefits that you get from Pop Show. If you have it at the end of the year, you don't actually reap the rewards of the benefits, because there are great benefits to having your pop show at the end of the year. And that includes things like you get kids to really come out of their shell during the pop show. They are performing, and they're performing music that they like, that they listen to. And there's always, every single year, there's some 1 or 2 or 3 stars that emerge in the pop show. They kind of hide in class. And then you get them, whether it's the dancing aspect of it, or whether it's that they get to actually perform a solo or a choral piece that is more in the style that they like to listen to on the radio.
Which is always a cool way to get, again, to find those kids, because sometimes it's really difficult to, and maybe in this environment, they're not coming out, they're not being those stars, but then you find this, and then they start to enjoy music and enjoy everything of what you're doing with your program a little bit more.
That's exactly right. And on top of that, when they shine in that setting, they end up building confidence within themselves.
Right.
That then they bring back into the choral classroom. And so if you're ending your year with your pop show, you get these emerging stars who are now confident about their singing, and it all happens after your solo and ensemble contest and after your big UIL. I mean, those are your two big kind of adjudicated moments in the year. And so I wondered if we would get those benefits earlier in the year, if we could then, if the choir would be even better towards the end of the year.
So now, what are you doing now? Do you have a pop show throughout the year at any time?
Well, yeah. Before
Okay.
we go on though, I'd like to talk about a few
Oh,
more
yeah.
of the benefits because I think people
Oh, sure. Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
I mean, they would feel like they don't get that. Because one of the other things is that you usually sell tickets to Pop Show, and so you're making money off of your Pop Show, and so it never made sense to me to make your money at the end of the year when you really need it more in the middle of the year so you can plan your budget to the end of the year.
Right.
Never knowing how much money you have for, say, we're high school, so for scholarships at the end of the year, for our senior scholarships or for our summer camp scholarships, you don't know until May how much money you're going to have for that. And if you throw that more at the beginning of the year or middle of the year, then you can just better plan your budget. But you also get the reward of the students in a pop show. They always bond together. And those are your students from your JV choirs up to your varsity choirs, your boys' choirs and your girls' choirs. When they're backstage or on the stage together performing as one group, there's always a social aspect to the pop show. And so you get this great kind of moment of unity across all of your choirs. And I can't tell you how many times when I do a pop show at the end of the year, I can't tell you how many times we get back for that last week or two of classes. And the students start saying, I can't believe so-and-so is graduating. I'm never going to see him. I just got to know him. And so
Right.
It's our goal to build that.
It's a morale booster.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's also just a social network boost.
Connection,
I mean,
exactly.
We're trying to create these families in our fine arts groups. We're trying to create these bridges across years. We want the freshmen to get to know the seniors, and we want the people in different choirs to become friends and not be so identified by just their choir class, but by being a choir student and being a part of that larger family. And so when we have the pop show at the end of the year, we get this great bond, and then you never reap the rewards of it. And so, there were a lot of things where I said, I wonder what would happen if we moved it to another part of the year.
So it sounds like at first I thought, well, maybe you didn't quite like the idea of what you're doing on the pop show, but you're just saying maybe not at the end of the year.
Yeah,
and if we could, because we have, maybe some other, band or whatnot. Like in band, we don't necessarily have a pop show. We don't.
Right.
I don't think of it that way.
Right.
But my end of the year concert sometimes is more pop music. So I think,
Sure.
I mean, it's a similar thing. So for those people that are maybe the middle school director like me, that's not. What do you do in a pop show in general?
Oh, I see. So, like, what do we do in a choral pop show?
Exactly. Yeah, just real quick so that we kind of know what
So
we're
for
talking
a
about.
choral pop show, there are as many variations as there are programs, but essentially you're doing some sort of popular music. That could be anything from music theater to contemporary pop to rock to country to whatever is like non-classical music could fit into
Right.
that.
Okay.
There's often a choreographed aspect to it, which means the group is going to not just sing, but they're also going to dance and do choreographed movement. Sometimes there's also a costume aspect to it that whether it's just a more casual dress for everybody, or whether each numbers actually have costumes and costume changes. It can be that. You also have a lot of solos. Usually, that gives a chance for the kids to come out and sing, with sound amplification, full sound system. You can either have karaoke tracks or you can have a live band, depending on what your program is. And it's just a night to do popular music because we don't often get to do that.
Okay, so what time of the year are you doing that right now?
Well, the last 4 years at Clear Creek High School, we've closed out the year with it. We've ended the year with it. Before that, at Kingwood Park, we ended with a Masterworks, and then this year at Clear Creek, we've moved away from the pop show because we're doing a special 60th anniversary concert. But I think that we enjoyed having the pop show in another part of the year, and I've been there kind of long enough that the tradition of having the pop show at the end of the year is, it's kind of, we're at a point to where I think it's okay if we kind of start playing around with some things. The kids don't seem to mind, and I've been there long enough that we can kind of make those changes. But that kind of brings up another point, is that whatever you end your year with that's your goal for the year. That's where your whole year is leading. And so I remember days back before Kingwood Park, when I was at Kingwood High School, the freshmen would, or the seniors, anybody, they walk in the first week of classes. Now keep in mind, they just ended, the last choir moment they had before summer break was the pop show. And so they'd come in and they'd ask, what are we doing for pop show this year? And we just made a rule. We're not going to talk about pop show until March. We just won't talk about it. Don't ask me any questions. But that becomes like the thing that they're looking forward to for the whole year. And it took about 2 or 3 years at Kingwood Park. But by about the third year of doing it, by the time that the Masterworks became a tradition, I'd have kids coming in and I'll never forget, they say, day one, we're in August, and they're like, what are we doing for our Masterworks concert this year? And I remember answering one year, I was like, it's like, we're doing the Duraflame Requiem. And they're like, cool, what is that? And I'm like, a Requiem is the Mass for the Dead. And they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm gonna go listen to it. And I thought, right there in that moment, I thought, okay, I've done it. That's they're excited about the Duraflame Requiem, for crying out loud.
Right.
Another year, I'll never forget, I had a kid who, by his third year in my class, he was still technically a freshman. He just could not pass his classes. He just couldn't get his work done. And but he was a faithful choir student, and we did the Pergolesi Magnificat, which I've since learned is not by Pergolesi, by Durante. But we did Pergolesi Magnificat. And it's about a 12, 15-minute piece. It's nice, but we did it with full instruments, and his choir did, the whole thing from beginning to end. We had soloists in the middle of it. And, he came back the next year, and he was like, he told me, he said, Mr. Park, I just got done listening to Pergolesi Magnificat again. Man, I just love that piece. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm really glad that you like it, that it seemed to resonate with you. And he goes, I'll tell you, it's the only classical piece that I have on my iPod, but I listen to it all the time. Okay,
well, that's cool.
We've done it.
There's a benefit.
We've won.
Right.
That's it. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, and real quick, just a quick question,
Yeah.
because I was just thinking about another benefit. So your Pops concert, you charge admission to. Mm-hmm. Do you charge admission for the Masterworks concert?
No. In fact, we would use the profits from our Pop show to help pay for the instrumentalists.
Oh, yeah. Because what I was thinking is, so I think current Texas state eligibility rules,
right.
If you have a paid concert, that a student who's ineligible cannot perform, but everybody can perform a Masterworks concert.
That's exactly right. And it was
so that's another benefit.
Yeah, and that was important to me when we did the Masterworks concert, that every single student was going to get to do it. And so I'd combine the entire program, anybody from the freshman kids to the senior varsity kids, and the way we got around, like, how do you teach freshman kids the entire Duraflame Requiem? Well, we didn't. There would be pages or movements that the freshmen might leave out, and we would just have the varsity choir sing that. And so I would manage it, or like there were some parts where the women's choir is singing, for example, in the Duraflame Requiem, the women's choir singing. And so I made sure and taught that part to the entire women's section. And then on some of the harder parts, then we wouldn't teach the entire choir, but the entire choir got to experience getting up there and singing the entire thing, even though they weren't singing every measure of it. But that, oftentimes I think directors will forget their JV students, and they'll think that their JV students aren't ready for something like that. But in every place that I've been where I've done something like this, the younger kids absolutely love it just as much as the older kids. And so, yeah, you end up ending your year with your entire choir combined to do some sort of large masterwork and accomplish something together that they couldn't achieve by themselves. So, yeah, we had our freshman girls and our freshman boys singing the Duraflame Requiem, the parts that they could, And there are some schools that do something like this, and they actually combine their band, choir, and orchestra all together to do some sort of masterworks.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, and that can be really exciting if you've got a strong band and strong orchestra program, strong choir program, or even if it's strong enough. There are some pieces out there that are short enough that you could. I imagine at some schools, if you wanted to do some sort of combined work, that you do one of those 10, 15-minute, minor, minor masterworks, minor works. But you do one of those. There's plenty of them out there, and you have the choir maybe do 1/3 of the program by themselves. You have the band do 1/3 of the program by themselves. You have the orchestra do 1/3 of the program by themselves. And then as a closer, you come out and you do your 10 to 15 minute masterwork together. Something like that for a program that couldn't do an entire masterwork. There are ways around that to where you could still do something, but it doesn't even have to be masterworks. It can just be a spring concert that's like really legitimate repertoire. Why not pick some more pieces off the PML with a UIL's prescribed music list, or get maybe one of them grade 6s and see if you can learn the grade 6, because those are a little bit more extended works. There are a lot of options that don't have to do with masterworks. I'm partial to masterworks just because I've always been drawn to them, and I think they're called masterworks for a reason, and I want to.
Well, and what I had ended up doing with I don't have like a masterworks concert. We actually ended up having a spring concert, and what it is, excuse me, I said spring concert, I meant picnic concert, and so we actually our last thing that we have going on is a concert in the park right outside our band hall.
Nice.
And it's a lot of fun, but of course some pieces don't translate well outside when everybody's, it's a casual kind of concert. They can kind of chat and be a part of the community.
But some things don't. Do you still have like a core of like legitimate pieces that are good, legitimate band works?
Well, I do, and what we end up doing is, sometimes we'll find pieces that are challenging. Of course, for a middle school band, we're playing "Can't Stop That Feeling" or "Can't Stop the Feeling" by Justin Timberlake.
Right.
Well, the rhythms in that are crazy.
Absolutely.
And so teaching those rhythms, so it still legitimizes what we're doing.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to say something with just the tone of the end of the year and what you were talking about. After our UIL was before spring break, so it's very early, and I love it at that time, because then the rest of the year I could pull out some different music and try some different things. Well, we ended up actually just last weekend got back from a trip to San Antonio where we got to perform at the Tobin Center. It was a Director's Choice competition performance site, and I ended up pulling, after spring break, I pulled out Hymn Song of Philip Bliss, which is a arrangement by David Holsinger of "It Is Well With My Soul." It's a very hard piece. I've done it for UIL before with my middle school group, and it's one of those pieces. Of course, the kids say this is easy, half notes, whole notes, whatnot.
Right.
But then they realize how much there is to it.
Sure.
Once they start. Well, I've done it for UIL, and it was a couple months of that it took to make that into a product. Well, then what happened is this year after UIL, now we've made that product of that band and that ensemble.
That's right.
Then I go back and I introduce this song that would have taken us from maybe January to March. Well, now it takes us from spring break to the middle of April. Mm-hmm. So they can now actually start absorbing music faster, and then you're starting to see exponential benefits playing, we can call it more PML-like or more legitimate music. We're not getting out the Hey song.
Right.
And so they can the benefits are exponential for the end of the year concert. And we've actually ended up doing chamber music at the end of the year as well, so they get more holistic musical approach instead of just doing, again, Can't Stop the Feeling, which they enjoy.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with doing Can't Stop the Feeling.
Sure.
Honestly, we did that on our pop show this year, and there's really nothing wrong with pop show. In fact, if you are doing any pop music for any ensemble, let's face it, what are the kids listening to? What's the most of the music that they're listening to? They're listening to that some sort of pop music, probably.
Sure.
You got your individual kids who might be listening to more band music or more, choral music or classical music or whatever. But the reality is they're probably listening to what's on the radio. And so if we're not covering that music in some way, we're doing a disservice to our kids. We're supposed to be giving them a complete music education. And so, yeah, I'm a huge proponent of it being a part of the curriculum. Question is do you want it to own your curriculum or not? Do you want it to define your curriculum? Do you want it to define your year? And I think that's where a lot of teachers are. They're kind of scared to try. They're scared to try something other than ending the pop show because they think that the kids want to end it with fun. But my kids have fun singing Palestrina. Like my kids have fun singing Beethoven, and I had fun singing Mozart and Karl Orff. I had that fun when I was in college. In high school, or even middle school. I had a great middle school program, and like I just enjoyed singing really good music, and when my kids sing a chord and it really rings and it's really in tune, it doesn't matter if it's Justin Timberlake or Mozart. They turn to each other and like, how cool was that, you know? Or when they sing a Vivaldi fugue, like when they sing that fugue and they hear the parts interacting, like they love that. Yesterday I just had a former student come in. She's just graduated with she's graduating with a master's in vocal performance. And she came in and she sang a Verdi opera aria for the kids. The kids' jaws were on the floor. They love that stuff when you present it, and when you present it well. And so my challenge to teachers would be to teachers out there about this question would be, are you afraid of doing a pop show at a different time of the year because you're afraid they won't have fun? Or are you afraid that you are not a good enough teacher to make the concert music fun? And I think that's kind of a harsh question, but that's the question that you need to face, I think, as a teacher, is like, I don't have any problem making Brahms fun. Like, I dig it and I love it. And I don't think that most music teachers got into music because of Justin Timberlake. I just don't think that's the case. I think that when they were in middle school or high school, they had some musical experience or some series of musical experiences that were powerful enough to compel them to move them into music. And because I just don't see any music education majors why'd you go into music? They say, oh, because the choreography on our pop show is amazing. Like, nobody says that. No, because nobody believes that. We all got into music because we fell in love with it, because of some sort of beautiful music or ensemble moment. And so then the question is, why aren't we bringing those moments to our students, or why are we scared to believe that they will also engage at that level? Every time I've tried it, the kids love that music and they love performing it well. And it's not because I'm some brilliant teacher. It's because the music still has something to say. It's because the music is still good enough and it's still of a high enough quality that the students will engage in it and they will enjoy it. And so, the challenge to the teachers is to trust that. Trust why they went into music in the first place, because of that excellent music experience, and trust that they do have the training and they do have the rehearsal technique and they do have the passion for it, that their kids will pick up on it and they will love it as well. So, I think it's something I'm passionate about, and I think it's something that is worth doing. So I would challenge the teachers out there to try something different and to think about how they can kind of move their year around and still cover all of the things that they want to cover, but do so in a way that really brings a passion to music to their students. Fun is doing good music. Fun doesn't necessarily mean dancing and singing pop music. Fun is doing music.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a great conversation. And James, thank you so much for coming on our program. We really enjoyed it. We'll have to have you out again.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Good talking to you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Clef. Reach beyond and go further at beyondtheclef.com.